So every now and again, I have used Siri on my iPhone. I use it for voice typing, um, especially when I'm outside and it's really bright and I can't really make out the keyboard. I use it to dictate entire notes and text messages. I use it primarily to set alarms more than anything else. But I decided to try Hey Siri for the first time yesterday. And it worked out pretty well for basic stuff like I told you before, alarms and whatnot. But I'd say about 25% of the time, and this was in my bedroom, and I'm not too far from my bedside table where my iPad was resting and charging. It couldn't quite make out what I was saying. I remember something about asking about battery level, and it came up with something about cheese. I think. You get the idea. But Siri can't even check her or his, depending on whose voice you have. The actual Siri is not the name of the voice, by the way. And for those of you who are familiar with electronic speech, you'll know what I'm about to say here. But for those of you who are not, the voices' names are actually Samantha and Tom, and they are created by Nuance Vocalizer. So Apple basically, my guess is they most likely licensed Nuance's voices to use. So Siri's primary voices are Samantha and Tom. I use Tom just because I use Alex when I use VoiceOver. So it just makes it feel more complete. Anyway, Siri can't even check its own battery level. I mean, what is that? I also found out that the integration coming in iOS 10 is only going to apply to certain apps, namely Uber-esque, basically ride-sharing services, fitness, I think, Skype and other VoIP apps, which is really cool because I do use Skype on a daily basis, and something else that I can't remember off the top of my head. But the reason I kind of dismissed it is because when it comes to streaming music, I do use Amazon Prime. The reason is because of the bang for the buck, because you get more than just music for the $99 a year, which I think is a really good deal. I know I've said this in the past, but in case anybody might be new to my channel. Anyway, so Siri is not going to be able to integrate with Amazon's music service, and that's by design. Which I think is, to me, it's a bit of a crock. I also had the opportunity to check out the Amazon Echo at Best Buy yesterday. This was the full-sized Echo, which, physically speaking, I would say it's about the size of, if you needed anything to compare it to, I would say it's about the size of a stack of paper towels, you know, the typical roll-up paper towels you'll find in a bathroom, you know, your home bathroom. I also saw the tap, and the tap's about the size of a soda can, both of which are very similar. The tap, thankfully, has very tactile keys on the top. I wasn't sure about that looking at the pictures, but the markings that denote the play, pause, forward, back, volume up, and down buttons, they're all very tactile, and you can definitely tell what's what if you needed to tactily. The Amazon Echo's speaker was just, I have no words. It was incredible. I had it at not even 50%, and it felt like it was almost at 100 compared to everything else that I have, which is really not all that great when it comes to my own personal speakers. When it comes to listening to stuff, the most powerful speakers I've got are the ones in the iPad Pro. What are you going to do? Anyway, so I got to thinking more and more about this voice-activated technology, and I got to thinking about up-and-coming projects like we'll get to Google Home in a moment. I also wanted to say that
3 o'clock p.m.
the expansion of Alexa has really given me an opportunity to try it outside of the I've got the Fire TV, And today I was able to get my news brief, which I think was really, really cool. The only problem is you had to be in the app, in order for it to work. Which I think was a bit of a crock. You couldn't have Alexa read you your news and at the same time you go someplace else to do something else. Also, I could not have it read my Kindle books for some reason. The Fire TV can. The Lexi app cannot. So if you want to try Alexa before buying one of these devices, be wary that you will have some limitations, just throwing that out there. But back to what I was originally going to say, was I was thinking about all this, and I was thinking about up-and-coming projects like Google Home, and other projects like that. And I was thinking about how I was able to dictate with Siri, and I was able to pull up the news with Alexa using third-party news sites. See, I don't think Siri in its current form, I don't think they can do that, not without using Apple's own services. But again, I honestly haven't really tried it because Siri is so bad at trying to recognize what I'm saying, particularly from a distance, that I've kind of given up. But what do all of these have in common, though? Google Home, Amazon's Alexa service, Apple's proprietary Siri, even Microsoft is expanding Cortana. You know, Google Now is pretty much everywhere, and obviously it'll be in their own speaker. It makes me wonder about whether or not we're going to reach a day where all we're going to have is a screen and a microphone. Okay? A screen and a microphone. And all you have to do is say, computer, add this to my shopping list. Computer, what is the most recent news for the day? And because the internet is pretty much driving our economy, it's also becoming the backbone of this new technology. But I'm thinking about it in terms of the Amazon Echo Tap is $129. The Amazon Echo Dot, which is currently only available to Prime members and only through an Alexa device, which in my case would be either Lexi or the Fire TV, or if I decided to get a Tap or an Echo, one of them. But at present, I'd have to order it through the Fire TV. Maybe one of these days, I hope that they open that up, because here's where I'm going with this. Let's take the Dot as an example because of its under $100 price tag. If the majority of our computing is transferred to the cloud, and Amazon and Google Now combined, let's say you have both of these, you could use Amazon for your music services and your merchandise ordering, and you could use your Google Home for things like dictating a paper. You know, if you've seen Star Trek, you've noticed that people would record entire captain's logs through voice, and you could dictate to the system while you're walking around observing something without having to stare into a computer screen. And the reason I bring up that I could see the computer of the future being just a screen and a microphone is because how we're mostly visual creatures. In my case, it wouldn't matter because, to be honest, I prefer the audio interface. No more having to muck about with fonts and whatnot. But if you think about it like this, $99 for a full voice-controlled computer, and anybody could use it. It would accept any commands. That is where we're going. That's where I hope we're going, because there are so many people out there. Myself, I'm a power user. I'm a pretty tech-savvy sort of guy. My relative who lives with me, not so much. Today we had a bit of an incident where I had to show them for the second time how to scan in a document so that they could send it in an email. And even then, I also had to show them how to attach it. And that is the kind of person I think that no-frills voice computing would be a major boon to. and also with the connected home devices. Me personally, I don't have the equipment to take advantage of it. But if you think about this, think about it in terms of anybody can use it, right? This is where I think the future is headed. I think that in the future, well, what computer do you have? Well, I have Echo 6 or whatever it's going to be, you know. I'm not saying that there won't be screens, but I do wonder if we will get to a point. We're not there yet. Let me make it very clear. We are not there yet because, this AI, it's a relatively new field as far as mass consumer adoption is concerned, and we're still learning about the sorts of things we want this technology to do, and we want this technology to become. Speaking from a personal standpoint, I would like the ability to go in and say, computer, open up a new document, and be able to dictate a proposal without ever having to touch a keyboard or worry about eye strain. Not that I couldn't, I'm perfectly capable of doing it now, okay? I'm perfectly capable of doing it now, but I'm just thinking about, let's say, for instance, you're thumbing through your references and you want to continue thumbing through your references while at the same time dictate into another document, all through voice. You could say, the computer could be reading a document to you, and all of a sudden you can say, computer, stop. Highlight last sentence, copy and paste into other document. And that's it. And that's all you'd have to do. You wouldn't have to worry about what mouse commands to hit. And I think that for people that are computer novices, this is where things will be headed. But it got me thinking because the push, and to be honest, we have Amazon to thank for. Well, we have Apple and Amazon, but truthfully Amazon, because to be honest, until iOS 10, Siri was more of a fun thing to show your friends at parties versus something that was truly useful, at least in the broadest sense. And the main problem, like, if you have any particular kind of a heavy accent, British, if you live in India and you speak English, you're going to have a different accent than what Siri is used to, and it's going to have a hard time interpreting what you're saying. That is where I think Siri needs to expand, is interpreting what you're saying. Now, as far as I can tell, Alexa really hasn't had any problems with that, but that's only because, from one of the reviews that I saw on the Echo, that database and the algorithms are being updated pretty much every week, every 2 weeks, every month, through the cloud without anybody having to do anything. That's the other thing. With this voice computing, zero maintenance. Okay? That's where I'm hoping we're headed, is zero maintenance. We're already kind of there with the Chromebooks, but to be able to control your computer completely by voice is something that I personally would like to see. I think it would make computing more accessible to everybody, and anybody could fill out a job application. And if your system was multilingual, that's even better, because if, for instance, you're moving from the United States to Korea or Japan or China, and you need to fill out some forms over there, some government paperwork, well, the great thing that I'm hoping will be coming someday is the ability to dictate it in English and have it transcribed into Chinese and entered into the form that way. No more language barriers. Microsoft's already working on this sort of universal translator concept with Cortana and in Skype. But we'll just have to see where this is going. But what do you guys think? Thank you for watching. Comments are welcome, and have a nice day.